oceans, there are some phenomena that science can't explain. The Baltic Sea, Northern Europe. Blasted by Arctic winds for half the year, it is one of the coldest and most treacherous seas on Earth. Beneath its stormy surface lie an estimated 100,000 wrecks. The perfect hunting ground for Swedish deep-sea salvage experts, Ocean X.
We are treasure hunters. Our goal is to find liquid gold.
Led by diver Peter Lindberg and entrepreneur Dennis Asberg, Ocean X specializes in retrieving fine wines and spirits, once destined for the Tsar's Russia, that now lie at the bottom of the Baltic.
To do this, always adventure, and we know that's lots of money in that.
But in June 2011, while using the ship's sonar to scour the seabed for wrecks, they find something unexpected.
What the hell have we found down there? What is it?
The sonar images show what appears to be a disc-shaped object covered with an intricately designed pattern.
It was such a strange shaped feature. I have never seen it before.
The disc is huge, almost 200 feet across, nearly the wingspan of a jumbo jet.
The strange thing for me was 90 meters depth. It was a big object also in the middle of the Baltic Sea, so should not be there.
Peter and Dennis are desperate for a closer look, but after 9 days at sea, their fuel supplies are almost gone.
Now, this was so weird, but we were so tired and so exhausted, so we just left the area.
Back on dry land, they study the sonar scans in detail. The object is almost double the size of a football field, and unlike any wreckage Ocean X has seen before.
This object is 3,000 square meters, so it cannot be apart from an airplane or a submarine or a ship. It's too big for that.
Mystified, they decide to do the one thing treasure hunters are never supposed to do: share their find with the world.
We decided to go out public with this because we don't know what we have found and we need help.
The sonar image quickly captures the imagination of the news channels.
Sea surveyors say they found what can only be described as the wreckage of a crashed spaceship.
Some enthusiasts have been comparing the shape to the Millennium Falcon, a spacecraft from the Star Wars series.
More eager than ever to identify the mysterious object, Ocean X launches a second expedition.
People have made a lot of suggestions that it could be some kind of alien spacecraft. I can't be sure. I think it's something that is man-made, and it might be made tens or thousands of years ago. By whom, I don't know.
Many strange and surprising artifacts have been discovered in the world's oceans. In the 1950s, famous French subsea explorer Jacques Cousteau finds an entire World War II-era steam train. And in 2002, off the coast of India, divers find part of the 7 pagodas of the Mahabalipuram, a complex of ancient temples archaeologists think sunk into the sea after a tsunami 800 years ago. With so many long-forgotten relics lying underwater, no one can be sure what Ocean X has found. Geology professor Dougal Jerram questions if their scans show an object at all.
Now, I brought along a nice scan here from offshore Norway, showing a whole series of circular structures of a similar sort of size. These are called pockmarks, and they're made by gas escaping from depth.
These distinctive circular impressions in the seabed are created as bubbling gas pushes away the surrounding sand.
I mean, in first impression, when you look at the anomaly, that could easily be a pockmark.
The anomaly could be nothing more than a crater made by gas escaping from the seabed.
When I first heard about the pockmark theory, I found it possible, since it looks like a crater.
To find out what the murky scan really shows, Ocean X deploys an ROV. It's equipped with a high-definition camera system, but as the ROV descends to the seabed, there's a problem. The visibility drops to just 3 feet ahead.
getting closer and closer, and then suddenly, just from nowhere, the surface appeared in front of us.
Using the ROV's limited vision, they begin to build up a picture of the object a few feet at a time.
The anomaly was raised above the bottom. It really looked like concrete.
The images soon confirm this is neither a pockmark or a crater.
For me, it looks like it was some construction of some kind.
The huge 195-foot diameter disc is 13 feet thick and seems to be resting on debris 15 to 30 feet above the seafloor.
When we have been down there now with the ROV, we see like the angles, the holes and the walls. This is something perhaps man-made.
Then disaster strikes.
The ROV broke. Kaput.
Their attempts to repair the ROV are unsuccessful. Then, stranger still, the ship's electronic systems also begin to fail, one by one.
And the radar system was not working.
It seemed like something affected all the electronic equipment. Everything broke down when we were on top of the anomaly.
Could the object itself be affecting Ocean X's equipment? Volcanic rocks rich in iron can emit electromagnetic fields strong enough to knock out sensitive equipment. But with no sonar or ROV, the only way for Ocean X to find out will be to send down a diver to collect samples.
We have a sample now that shows that the object on the Baltic Sea is metallic and must be constructed in some way.
Underwater explorers Ocean X are investigating a strange, gigantic disk discovered about 300 feet down on the bottom of the Baltic Sea.
It could be some kind of alien spacecraft. I can't be sure.
But the team's electronics fail before they can finish their investigation. So Ocean X decides to risk sending a diver down to discover what the object is made from. With 20 years' experience, Stefan Hogborn knows the dangers of diving in the Baltic better than anyone.
We're diving at about 3 times the normal sport diving depth. If anything doesn't work out the way it should work, it's really, really dangerous.
A line is dropped to guide Stefan to the object, and he begins the 15-minute descent.
We tried to take samples of the area where it looked like it was molded. The object looks like cement or concrete, grayish, and when you touch it, it turns black.
Stefan manages to chisel a small piece off the surface, but poor visibility and his dwindling air supply force him to return topside.
I mean, we came here to get answers about what the object is. But after this dive, we only have more questions. I have no clue what it is. I've never seen anything like it. And maybe I've done 6,000 dives.
The object does appear to be made from some kind of volcanic material, but the nearest volcano is hundreds of miles north. So how could it have wound up in the middle of the Baltic? According to geologist Professor Svante Björk, it might have been carried here by a giant glacier during the last ice age that began about 20,000 years ago.
The ice is a powerful machine, so the ice could move an enormous amount of material and picked up everything from the smallest to the largest particle.
When the glacier thawed to form the Baltic Sea, colossal icebergs broke off and floated away, some with huge volcanic rocks inside them.
This is a rock, giant rock, I would say, carried by an iceberg in the early stage of the Baltic. It's about 10 meters long, 8 meters high. Well, that makes it 1,500 tons. So it corresponds to 1,000 cars in weight. it just shows what these icebergs can carry.
Is the disk just strangely shaped volcanic debris? The sample taken from the object is analyzed by the Weizmann Institute in Israel. Their tests indicate this is no ordinary rock. It contains abnormally high concentrations of titanium, manganese, and iron.
We have a sample now that shows that the object on the Baltic Sea, it's metallic. We have different types of metallic, and it must be constructed in some way.
The metals are all key materials in the manufacture of high-tech aerospace components.
Talk to scientists, ask if we have found a shipwreck or some kind of new submarine out there. Of course we have not. We have found a circular object on the Baltic Sea.
If the disk has been manufactured, who could have built it and why? When naval historian Professor Andrew Lambert studies the sonar scans of the object, he comes up with a theory. Ocean X may have found a secret relic from the Cold War.
The idea that the Baltic Sea anomaly might be some kind of anti-submarine detection system or possibly even weapons system is entirely plausible. The United States deployed a line of seabed sonars across the Greenland, Iceland, UK gap, SOSUS, which was hugely effective in the Cold War in detecting incoming and outgoing Soviet nuclear submarines as they transited into the Atlantic. So these things existed.
If the object is a carefully installed submarine detection system, this could explain Ocean X's equipment failures. But further inspection of their sonar scans suggest another, far more compelling explanation. The object doesn't appear to have been placed on the seabed, but looks like it crashed into it.
We have some kind of track. Here's the start of the track. It's like a track. And there we have the object. And then after that, we have nothing.
The object looks too big to have been dragged by a ship or a submarine. The mile-long track seems to have been made by the object itself. Not only that, but about 650 feet away from the disk is another smaller structure.
It looks weird as well. It's a bit smaller, about 40 meters. It also has track to it.
The scans appear to show the objects were traveling at speed when they hit the seabed. The tracks originate from the same point, indicating the objects may once have been joined together, but separated on impact. This evidence leads Ocean X to draw a startling conclusion.
In my eyes, this looks like a UFO crash site.
Underwater explorers Ocean X are investigating what they think may be a UFO crash site 90 meters down at the bottom of the Baltic Sea. They are not the only people who suspect something unusual is in these freezing waters. Claes Svahn, a journalist for Sweden's largest morning newspaper, the reputable Dagens Nyheter, has spent the last 40 years researching UFO sightings in the region.
If you go back to the Cold War, there were quite a few observations around the Baltic area. Of course, most of them were intrusions of NATO and the Warsaw Pact's aircraft. But there were also quite a lot of observations that were never really found out who was behind them.
One of the most compelling eyewitness accounts Claes found came from a Swedish fighter pilot who died in 2000.
Det var ju en normal flygövning jag låg över öster om mellan Öland och Gotland, vanliga flygövningar.
This is the only recording with the Swedish Air Force pilot Sven Hjalmarsson.
With 15 years' experience, Flight Lieutenant Hjalmarsson was a highly respected pilot. In June 1977, he took off from his base in southern Sweden for a regular training flight over the Baltic.
He got an alarm from the ground radar because there's an unknown object coming from the east towards Sweden.
Hjalmarsson is not surprised when he is ordered to break off the exercise and intercept the incoming object.
Oftast i det här läget så var det ju ryssar eller någon sån här spårvagn som gick där ut.
Within minutes, he sees the object on his radar screen.
Och sen när jag kom in så att min radar började så att säga innanför däck. På den, då fick jag lås på det här föremålet.
He is surprised when he sees the object is hovering above the Baltic Sea. This cannot be another jet fighter.
At that point, both the ground radar and Sven Hjalmarsson sees the object on two different sets of radar. There's no doubt that they are seeing something real. He tells me that he can see that this object is 1,000 meters over the sea, hanging stationary.
Hjalmarsson accelerates towards it. He's flying at 560 miles per hour. He can still see it clearly on his radar.
And he sees it for maybe 15-20 seconds. And after that, the object suddenly starts to move up.
As the object starts to climb, Hjalmarsson accelerates again to try and keep up with it.
So he turns on the afterburner, and at Mach 2, which is 2 times the speed of sound, is climbing at an elevation of 70 degrees, flying after this object, but he's outpaced.
Hjalmarsson can still see the object on his radar. He frantically scans the skies to catch a glimpse of it.
Jag tittade ju så länge jag kunde för att se om man skulle se att det var inga... Normalt sett så blir det ju strimmer och sånt där på vissa höjder.
At 10,000 meters, he loses it. And at that point, the object is 40 kilometers away, flying, as he tells me, straight out into space.
Does this report of UFO activity add weight to Ocean X's claim that they've found a crashed UFO in the Baltic? The object is only seen on radar. Neither can provide a visual of what it looks like. But just a few minutes flying time away, Polish fishermen witness with their own eyes another UFO hovering above the Baltic. In 1982, engineer Marek Maciejewski and 5 other crew members set sail from the port of Ustka, Poland. Marek is in the wheelhouse. Most of the crew have turned in for some rest when he spots something on the horizon.
Zauważyliśmy po prawej stronie zielone światło, co znaczyło, że jesteśmy na kursie mijania z jakimś jednostką, jakimś statkiem.
But as the light gets closer, Marek soon realizes this is not another ship.
Zatrzymałem jednostkę, zastopowałem silniki, obudziłem całą załogę. No i wszyscy widzieli właśnie to, co ja. No i przeżyliśmy wszyscy szok.
The huge disk circles the boat, stops, and hovers directly above them.
Ten spodek wzniósł się mniej więcej na wysokość 50 metrów nad nami i nagle poszedł z niesamowitą szybkością. Nie było jego absolutnie widać.
Shortly after the sighting, Marek draws a picture of what he saw.
Tak jak mniej więcej zapamiętałem, widziałem, to jest jakby pamiątka tego zdarzenia.
Marek's sketch is noticeably similar to an artist's impression of the object found by Ocean X. All these eyewitness testimonies force us to consider the possibility that Ocean X's discovery is indeed a downed UFO. Ocean X goes back to try to find out more, but again, they are frustrated by equipment failures.
We did try now again to get more information from the object, but as we have said so many times before, we don't have the right equipment.
The only way to be sure if the object is a downed UFO is to set up a deep core drilling operation and see what is inside. For that, Ocean X asks for the help of the Swedish Navy. They refuse. Ocean X has no idea if the Navy has launched its own investigation, but claim each time they approach the object's location, they are shadowed by Swedish warships. Until the Swedish Navy reveals what they have found, the object at the bottom of the Baltic will remain a mystery.